This episode of the Pete the Planner podcast is dedicated to the memory of Bob Kavoyan, radio legend who passed away this past week, co-founder of the Bob and Tom Show. My entire, I believe, view on humor was shaped by the likes of Bob Kavoyan. He's passed away at home this past week. So, a special shout out to his family and loved ones as they sort through that. Dame, I know you grew up listening to the Bob and Tom Show, so I'm guessing you had a similar ping in your heart this week when you saw that news.
Yeah, it was tough. I was seeing the news like that. Obviously Bob had some struggles with cancer over the years, and seeing the ultimate end to that was not any easier, knowing that eventually it was going to catch up. So he absolutely, that show shaped a lot of my perspective of radio, and the changes they've gone through over the years. Often at times felt like it was a family issue that was going on. And so when you see one of the biggest names literally in radio broadcasting depart, it was tough. And you sat and reflected on all the fun and frivolity that they brought to the airwaves in your individual lives over the years.
In some way, it's one of those radio shows that actually was a podcast before podcasts were podcasts.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kristen, did different generation.
Mm-hmm.
Did Bob and Tom Show make its way into your generation?
I think it did. I think if you asked my partner, there would be opinions, but I haven't for years and years been a big radio gal, and we used to beg my mom to put CDs in the car. So not so much, not as big of an impact for me personally. No.
I find myself still quoting jokes from the Bob and Tom Show from 30 years ago. I will say one of my career media highlights was being a guest on the Bob and Tom Show. So anyway, rest in peace, Bob Kavoyan. Hey, this show is a podcast, also a radio show. I don't know. We're going to get started here in just a moment. Dame, speaking of podcasts, I sort of tease this. Dame's in the office today. If you can't figure, Dame is in what do we call those things? Cubes?
Booth? I don't know.
Dame's in a call booth, right on the other side of the wall from me. Like if I had an IED or something, I could hit you. Like it's that close. Kristen, is that a little?
Well, I think that you could hit anyone in the office if you had an IED. But
guys, I've seen a lot of military shows, so I know how all of these things work. Dame, I was teasing this to Dame before the show. Kristen, on Monday night, this coming Monday night, all of the hosts of the IBJ media podcasts are getting together for dinner.
Oh.
Okay. My invitation must have got lost in the mail.
I don't think co-hosts are were on the list. I just know that the hosts were. And so I will be there. And I think we need to put together a strategy for how I handle this dinner.
Who's
the three of us. I think we talked through this. Like, what's my approach to this dinner?
Do you know where it's at?
Oh, I know where it's at. Yeah, I don't want this place overrun.
Parking is okay. Okay.
It's that I'll worry about. I have worried about, but I do have a reasonable plan there. I think here's really the issue. Dame, I think you know this about me. Kristen, I believe she knows this about me. I'm actually not that social in situations like this. I kind of can clam up. I can be a little bit of a secret introvert at these. And I don't really want to get into the contest of big personality on big personality. And there's some pretty big personalities in the room. So what do I do? Do I pull all the way back? Do I give it the old college try of being funny? Like, how do I talk to humans, Dame?
Is it going to be one big table, a couple smaller tables? Do you know what the seating arrangements are going to be? Because that could determine a lot.
I believe there's 15 to 17 people involved with this thing.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's one big table. Here's what I know I'm going to do. I got a couple of good friends that are going to be in the room. I'll probably just sit next to them.
Yeah.
And just go that route. But, we'll see. It could be interesting.
I mean, all else fails, you always just go armed with an inquisitive nature and ask questions and let other people fill the air. And that way you look like you're engaged, but they're actually the ones doing the heavy lifting.
And
Kristen, I'm a team player. What did you say, Chris? What did you say?
Sorry, I was waiting for your voice to come back. I said, and then people feel special when you ask them questions. It's a win-win.
I've had to battle not calling Kristen Chris in several meetings this week, and I am doing a poor job.
I appreciated you not doing that in yesterday's meeting because I feel like they would have run with that, and thank you.
It's hard. I don't know. I mean, again, I'm sorry. Okay, today's show is from an email, and the way that you can be part of our show, as I will say here in a moment when we start the radio show, is email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. Got some first-time live stream viewers coming in here today because we're doing this on a Thursday because I can't do it tomorrow. I am hosting a panel tomorrow morning on men's mental health in Carmel.
You're hosting it?
Well, I'm hosting a panel. Like
Yeah.
What do you say? I'm moderating?
I guess.
I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Here's the funny thing about that panel. Here's on the panel. My daughter's old cheerleading coach.
Is it men's health?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a man. And a guy who works out at my gym.
And
that's it? That's the panel?
And the fire chief.
Oh. Here's our panel of two.
It is like it's like a knock joke. This many people walk into a bar sort of thing.
You know what? You got me thinking about that. You said fire chief, and it got me thinking. I was down in the home office this week to talk to a couple different groups of people. They are tradesmen. They work with electricity. And I noticed, if you were with us last week, I think it was last week that I said that I had to have my ring cut off, and I'm wearing one of the silicone rings now. Obviously, lots of them wear silicone rings.
Yes.
And I honestly felt like this was almost stolen valor when I was with them because they could potentially be harmed if they have a traditional wedding ring and they're working around electricity. So they're doing it, presumably for some level of safety. And here I am, just because my finger got a little itchy, I have a silicone ring. And so Pete, does that kind of strike you as stolen valor?
If you've ever listened to this show, stolen valor is one of my favorite things. Not stealing valor, but the concept of the whole thing. I feel you on that one. I don't think so. And maybe it's because I constantly myself steal the valor with this silicone ring. So Kristen, you are the final boss on this one. Is it stolen valor to have a silicone wedding ring?
I can totally understand why Dame feels like that was stolen valor in that particular context. What's so funny about that, Dame, is that among us or among maybe other members of the office, you would be considered the most likely person to wear a silicone ring. And then you go into a different setting and you feel like you're the imposter. It's just funny how that doesn't always translate across like different groups of people.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, let's do the show. Topic, I think we have one. Let's get it started in 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And here's what will happen. We'll turn this into an entire show. It will become a radio show, which your ears are gathering now. It will become a podcast, which maybe also your ears are gathering now. And it is a live stream that streams Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, except for today, which is a Thursday. Joining me, as always, is Kristen Elanius. Hello, Kristen.
Hello, Peter.
And in office, yet in a booth, Damian Dunn.
Good day.
Good day. Damian is 9 feet away from me right now on the other side of a wall, but I've got better lighting. All right, here is what the show is this week. It is from an emailer. And did they leave their name? Oh, okay, we'll get to the name. It's okay. Good day. Kristen and Co., my husband and I, have a dilemma. We've been married almost 10 years.
Time out.
Okay.
Already?
Well, of course they have a dilemma. They've been married for 10 years. I mean, you get a couple years in, they just start stacking up the losses.
Yeah.
Anyway, and for most of that time, we've made similar, if not equal, salaries, bonuses, etc. We contributed 50-50 to household expenses and joint accounts. and maintains separate personal accounts, investing most extra cash in separate taxable brokerages, also always maxing out our 401ks.
Time out.
This is a legitimate timeout. Kristen, I find that one of the most unique parts of this email is that I have to be honest, and this is just on patterns and what I've seen. Anytime I see that 50-50 household expenses things, rarely is that paired with we both maxed out our 401ks. I find that those are really two strange bedfellows, if you will.
That's interesting. So you're saying that one person, because they're contributing the equal 50, they're like the way that they make up for that to ensure that they still feel like they have that financial freedom or that discretionary income is that they're not contributing that amount to the 401k.
I think it's really rare for people in general to both max out their 401ks, even though that's what we want. But I think I don't even know how to say it, in the dynamic, in a paradigm in which they're sharing expenses 50-50, I just don't see that combination of elements. Dame, do you know what I mean?
I think so. And I think it's a good observation. Kristen, you may feel differently, but the number of times that we've talked to people in a relationship and both people are maxing out their 401ks, not that many. But if you are in this situation, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that one person may be stretching a bit more to provide that 50% of the expenses, and they're going to cut it from somewhere. And usually it's at the expense of their future selves and their future benefits. So the retirement contributions get dropped down.
Continuing on, after having a baby and being burnt out with the corporate job, I took a part-time role with a significant decrease in salary. In my mind, I was going barista FI. Is that financial independence or barista-fi? How would you guys say that?
I don't know. And I was hoping that one of the two of you knew, because I'm not familiar with this terminology.
And would continue to contribute 50% of expenses, making up the difference by selling off shares as needed from my taxable brokerage. My husband thinks it's ridiculous to pay capital gains when we could cover our expenses with his income alone. I feel like this is taking away some of my independence. I also feel that this is akin to the pay off your mortgage conundrum, and that the costs don't necessarily outweigh the psychological effects. I'm 39. I have $1 million in my 401k and $450,000 in the taxable brokerage.
Time out.
There it is.
Holy Moses.
Yes, indeed. Shocking.
What an attractive quality. Oh, you guys, when I read this email for the first time, because I did read it.
Yeah.
I scanned it. I looked at it. Some of the words. I did see this, and I have to say, I was taken aback.
Same.
Continuing. I estimate I'd be pulling out about $30,000 a year to supplement my current salary. I'm also not against working more in the future. I just don't have a concrete plan. Thanks. Signed, no pain, no capital gain. That was my husband's idea. P.S. Can't wait to hear where the timeouts start. Guys, I love this. I love this conversation. It is. I've got all sorts of thoughts. We're gonna go youngest first. So, Kristen, take a shot. What do you got here? What jumps out to you at first?
Well, first of all, this particular flavor of this problem maybe isn't super common, where someone has all of these funds. We're all totally taken aback by the 401k savings here. But the actual root of what's going on here is literally so common. We see it all the time.
Dame, you and I share a gender.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think, as we try to break this down, the three of us, how much do you think you and I are handicapped by the fact that this might actually be an entire question about independence, and not that is a gendered concept, but it's certainly, we are socialized to the fact that women haven't had the financial independence over the last several decades that men have. How are you accounting for that as you think through this?
I don't know if I can entirely appropriately account or weigh the value that this has for the author of the email, because it may not resonate as strongly with me as it does clearly to her. I can't ignore it, obviously, because there's the big driver of this conversation is she wants to feel like she's pulling her share in this relationship, and she's willing to do quite a bit to make that happen. So while there may be a solution sitting out there that's not difficult to implement by just letting her husband take care of all of the expenses or his proportion of the expenses, if that doesn't sit well with her, then we've got a topic for conversation, which we're going to go through.
Kristen, how much do you want to know how old the kid is? Does that matter?
I don't know if it necessarily does for me, but only because she said, I'm also not against working more in the future. I just don't have a concrete plan. So it's like, if it's one kid, one and done, I'm headed back to work. Maybe I don't have as strong opinions about some of the things that we're going to talk about versus if it's this, well, I might be a stay-at-home mom that turns into homeschool and a second kid and the conversation's totally different.
I think sometimes when we have these sort of topics where there's relationship dynamics involved and gender and all sorts of things like that, I find it helpful to, I don't want to say necessarily check privilege, but to be outright with what my situation is so that it doesn't feel like I'm, minimalizing what's going on. So my situation is my wife taught for years and years and years and years. After our second child, it made sense for her in our family for her to stay home. And that's what she does. And so from an income perspective, we've never been in a situation where we necessarily made the same income, except maybe our first couple of years out of school. But I don't know. I just want to check that at the door as we try to sort through this. Anybody else want to disclose anything? Or are you feeling okay?
I think we're pretty settled on this.
Okay. All right. Let's look at how they are from a long-term financial stability perspective and say, are they okay? Does this baristify thing, does that impact anything? Because by my math, they're set up forever. Kristen?
I don't disagree with that statement.
All right. So I think that will be the basis and the starting point of what we talk about when we come back for the break. How much does their long-term financial stability impact their optionality and flexibility going forward? All that is next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Kristen, how was the country concert that you went to last weekend?
It was very good. Dame called out to me that it wasn't a concert, it was a festival.
Oh,
so
gosh,
I
that's
learned
gross.
that. It was just because there were 5 acts. So he said that you can't call that a concert.
It's too many acts.
Were there a lot of pickup trucks there?
I'm sure. I mean, it seems like actual tailgates. I feel like now I'm trying to think back to like tailgating. I feel like a lot of the tailgates actually weren't pickups with tailgates. It's mom's SUV that we can put the hatchback up. I feel like that's a lot more common these days, but it was fun.
Dame, I know when I go to a sporting event, sometimes I'll wear the local team's jersey or hat or something like that. Kristen, when you go to a country music festival, you got to wear cowboy boots and a hat?
I didn't wear boots, but I was the only one in my group who didn't. But they would tell you that most people there, you want to talk about stolen valor.
Oh.
Boots at a country concert, for one. And two, my person at the Notre Dame Stadium wore Purdue because he just had to be that guy. So,
Dame, you a country music goer? Festival goer?
Been a minute since I've been to a country concert, but I am not opposed to going to one.
Boots and hat?
Hat, no boots.
Wow. All hat, no cattle. All right. Let's get back to the show in 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner Show, received an email from a nice woman. Actually, Kristen, now that I think of it, I have no reason to believe she is nice or not nice.
Oh,
I just used an adjective.
I think she's nice.
This woman Her and her husband had made the same amount of money for a long time, contributed equally to the household, literally 50-50 splitting expenses, yet maxed out their 401ks. And at 39 years old, she has $1 million in her 401k, $450,000 in taxable brokerage. And she's working a lower paying job and feels like she has this urge to withdraw $30,000 a year from her brokerage account to more equally split the expenses with her husband. And she wants to know if that is a good idea or a bad idea. Dame, we up to speed? Did I miss any elements there that are important?
No, that's as the story as we were told.
So Dame, as I ask Kristen this question, go ahead and do a little fun, quick math on how much money she'll have at 59 if she leaves those things alone.
Well, what kind of interest rate do we want to, or return do we want to give her, Pete? 7 or 10, just to make it easy for math at this point. If we give her a 10% annual return, that money's going to triple at least 3 times between now and the time she retires. No, she's 39. Yeah, 3 times between now and the time she retires. So 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8 in just 401k money alone. Now, if her husband's got something similar, now we're talking, let's just give her a range of somewhere between 12 and 20 million in qualified money. My question becomes, what if early retirement's on the table? That's what they're really stretching for. And he doesn't have as much in non-qualified assets. And he sees that as eroding away the opportunity to retire early, to access some of those funds.
Yeah, Kristen, that sort of gets at my question here of like, isn't this a matter of what's important to us as a couple? Like, what are we trying to do here? Because as we, from time to time over the years, the world is their oyster. They've done it all right. So what do they want?
You're exactly right. And Dame, I see your point and would raise you, even if their brokerage accounts are about the same level. I mean, we're still I would assume that he's still maxing out his 401k. If she's contributing to qualified accounts, we're still very overweight on qualified money if fire is potentially part of this conversation.
Does that make you want to then have the flexibility to draw it down, or is that just a beside the point sort of thing?
Well, I just think it's something to point out is they didn't mention it, but they have a lot of, I guess we don't know their incomes, but even so, we see that these are very heavy qualified account balances for their age, when we already know that she has been subject to kind of corporate burnout. What if he feels the same way?
Dame, people love when we guess stuff about their life, like we're carnival barkers.
Yeah.
Do we want to guess when their income was equal, what we think it was? Let's have a little guessing contest here. What do we think it was?
This is really unfair, because what if they're just super aggressive savers and they live on very, very little? Maybe, I mean, I'm sure they did well or do well for themselves, but if they are leaning into the saving side of the equation and living very frugally outside of that, we could be way off and never even know it. Because my mind immediately went to very high income. And I had to check myself and say, that doesn't have to be the case. If you are of the mindset to just stack money, you can do it if you want.
All right, Kristen, what do you think they made when they made the same thing? Are you buying Dave's red herring here that they actually made not a modest amount and saved it all? Or do you think they were big earners?
I think they were high income earners. I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know what it is about the way it's written or what's between the words. Like, I think they were high income earners.
All right, give me a number. I'm going super specific on mine, but I'll give you guys a chance to go first.
I wasn't even thinking of a number.
Are we talking total household income?
Well, whatever. It's just divided by 2. So individual, household. We got math here.
I don't want to go first.
Dame?
$200,000.
See, I was thinking 250 plus.
I was thinking 225. So like this actually is lovely. Email me back. Let me know what you make. Dame, I don't want to, get to the last page of the book here, but it is my opinion, and maybe this is what we debate for the rest of the show, that is absolutely patently ridiculous to withdraw $30,000 to split the expenses. Kristen's face did something, so maybe this is the rest of the show. Kristen?
Do you want me to explain, or do you want me to just validate that, yes, my face did something?
Do you disagree?
I don't know if I disagree from the perspective of a practitioner, right? But that's not necessarily what she's asking. What makes sense on paper doesn't always make sense when we take into account the other circumstances here. And I don't know if it's that easy given what she, in just a few short paragraphs, has told us is so important to her.
Dane?
As no surprise to anybody who's listened to this show before, I see it much more similarly to you. And it's tough for me. It's honestly tough for me to say that because I know what this question means to the individual. That said, if there's no need to take capital gains and your husband doesn't have a problem with paying all the expenses, take the W, and you're going to contribute to the family in other ways during this time. It doesn't have to be monetarily.
I think this is why I wanted to check my situation at the door prior to this conversation, because I know how I felt. And I feel like I just want to focus on Kristen's perspective on this the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Here, Kristen, here's the ammunition for you to fire at me with. Okay. So here you go. I think this is about taxes. And I think this is about the shoe will be on the other foot at some point in time over the next couple decades of this marriage. And the reciprocation will take place then. I don't think you have to go, eye for an eye at all points during a relationship. So that's where I'm at. I don't think everything has to be equal all the time in the moment. I think the ebbs and flows of life and jobs and relationships will present this very stable couple an opportunity to get even later. So have at me.
Well, let's start with what I agree with, which is that it doesn't have to be 100% equal all the time. And in fact, I see her point in this, but I would raise her that if she's taking money out of her brokerage account, he's not making that sacrifice. She's saying that they need another 30 grand from her. Ideally, then he's just putting that 30 grand in his brokerage account. So while her brokerage account is decreasing by 30 grand until she goes back to the workforce, he doesn't have to contribute that money to the household. And then his account is just increasing. So why are we playing this like robbing what? I said, let's start with what I agree with. I'm like,
well, I mean, that feels like a better point than what I had.
I'm like, so why are we playing? We're like robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm not sure why we're doing it in that way.
Robbing Peter to pay Uncle Sam.
Oh.
Okay. Can the answer not just live in that account in that point? Because if this is about independence, her independence starts to go away when her money starts going away to some degree.
Yes, but we've all already said that on the path that they're on, like they're okay. And I think that's probably what's leading this for her is like, we're fine. Like we're doing the right things. And so I just want to keep contributing my 50%.
Dame, her point that was agreeing with our point, but which was then going to come over the top and ruin our point. That point was better than our point.
I hate it when that happens, but you're right.
But not, she's, okay, let's talk about her like she's not here.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
So when she went to agree with us, she strengthened our point beyond what I thought was possible. And then when she tried to come over the top with what her point was that made our point wrong, I don't even hear what it was because her original point was so good.
Yeah, I don't think there was any.
And we have to go to break because I'm unprofessional. Coming up after the break, more of this, whatever this is, right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Blew by that one.
Great. Yep.
Les Mellencamp.
Gosh. Warner Bros. Breaking. Breaking. No, probably not.
Close enough.
Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders approve the Paramount acquisition.
Thank goodness I've been losing sleep.
I know you have. Also, sort of headlines here. Kalshi traders don't see Strait of Hormuz traffic returning to normal until July. Oh, the prediction markets are out there just doing things.
I love the news.
Love that there's so many geopolitical experts on Kalshi.
Man, you know, the immunology experts that they had to find something to do after the last few years.
Well, they had time to bone up on that too. So they were able to get their expertise in order for this.
Man, I blew by that post.
You could cut out the part where you said, because I'm not a professional, and maybe get a little bit closer.
I love that in the episode, we're trying to honor Bob Kavoyan for his contributions to professionalism in radio. I literally disrespect his memory by blowing it.
Missing the post. Yeah.
I think he would like the humor in that. When I was on the Bob and Tom show, it's after he had left the show to begin to deal with some stuff. So it was just Tom and Chick and some of the other and Christy. Dame, I've told you this. I probably have told this on the podcast before. When we go to break, I'm talking about money and whatever on the show, like kind of a weird shoehorned into the show, but I appreciate it all the same. We go to break and Tom looks at me and he just, have I told you the story?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, you're pretty fair skinned. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
You use sunscreen. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, you got to use sunscreen. Got to use the right SPF. And I'm like, this is the strangest moment of my life.
That is a big issue for Tom as well. So I'm sure he was saying that in the most sincere way.
Oh, man. All right. I love this question from the emailer. Emailer, please know, every emailer, when we talk about this, it's never really with judgment. It is like we're tickled by your stability. It's just an interesting debate. So whatever consternation you and your husband had over this situation, it's justified because it's a tricky one, right?
There's like 3 bits of information that I would love to
I know,
have.
me too.
What
are they? What are they? What do you want to know? I want to know the kid's age, what their income was, and in a weird turn, I want to validate my belief that they both grew up with money.
I think one of them did.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well for them, and that it made them both really frugal. Made them both accumulators, but one didn't, I don't think.
Okay. Who? Which one of them didn't grow up who grew up more financially stable? This is where the emailers either get tickled or super annoyed. What do you think, Kristen?
Based on the way she's reacting to needing to contribute her 50%, I think that she grew up with less than he did.
I agree.
Same.
Gosh. Emailer, you've got to email us back because there's nothing better than guessing and being right.
I would love to know their discussions around what their future and retirement looks like as well.
You know, they didn't mention college savings, which I find peculiar in an email that someone has this level of asset accumulation before 40 and they have a child. I would have just expected that to be part of the conversation. So I'm a little thrown by that not being in there, but maybe they just didn't want it to distract Pete.
Here's what else I want to know. I want to know, she kind of says it, but doesn't come out right. Is she the primary caregiver for the child?
I think that's what she's saying.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, she didn't come out right and say it, but she gave us sort of clues around that.
We're doing the 3rd segment right now, by the way.
Oh, okay. In 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. You never miss the good stuff during the break if you listen to the podcast. All right, Dame, Kristen, and I talking about an email from a emailer. Married 10 years, 39 years old. Her and her husband had always made the same amount of money, contributed the same 50-50 to the household, and they are at a crossroads. Does it still make sense to share everything 50-50? and she now has a part-time income, makes significantly less. And oh, the big piece of context that I haven't shared in this segment, they got a lot of money. At 39, she's got $1 million in her 401k and $450,000 in a non-qualified brokerage account. And we believe her husband probably has the same. Unless, guys, here's a new element here. He had an advanced degree of some sort, and it had a delay in making his income. Therefore, he would have lower balances. That is possible. That is possible.
It is possible.
Here's the other thing. They've been married for 10 years. Okay, guys, we've unlocked a new thing here. They got married when they were 29. They had a good 7 years as working adults where they did their own thing. I'm guessing she was going bananas during those 7 years, stacking dollar bills. And that's why she's got bigger balances. Maybe his balances are not as high.
Absolutely could be a possibility. I mean, do you want to go down this road and try and guess what her profession is?
We've guessed too much.
Okay.
Kristen, where do we go from here?
Gosh, I mean, do we talk about the fact we have not explicitly addressed this, which is emailer, the way that you've addressed us, called the timeouts. I think you're a regular listener of the show. So I hope you know us well enough to know that some of these things, we just have our quirks. But one of the things I want to call out is perhaps the system that you had in place worked because you had enough discretionary income for that system to work, not because it was completely thought out. And what I mean by that is we fully fund our 401ks, we contribute 50-50. Everybody's got enough discretionary income that no one really cares how things are working beyond that anyway. You might not have your finger on the pulse quite like you thought you did. And now that you have this income shift, the three of us are saying, well, this is no big deal. Just like have him pay the extra expenses. But maybe it feels like no big deal to us because you feel rattled by the fact that there are these elements you didn't realize you didn't know.
And to Pete's point, they didn't get married until they were 29. They had time to build their own financial lives individually and establish their own habits and what they were comfortable with. And instead of going through the complication of completely merging or blending financial lives, they just stuck the way that was. And hey, I'm going to do 50%. You're going to do 50%. That's just the way it's going to be. It's easy. It's convenient. We understand it. So now that that's not the case, I can see why somebody would want to maintain the status quo, even though you don't have to. There may be a more efficient way to do it.
Yeah, Kristen, you're blowing my mind today. Because I think there's some element to this of like, they've done everything right along the way. And what the decisions they made worked. So many elements have changed. And I feel like they feel married to those old elements, but they're new elements. I wrote a column last week about freeing yourself from caring about too much. I feel like what they care about theoretically has changed. Some of the things are the same. And I feel like they put themselves in this beautiful position, but I don't want to say they're married to their old ideas. I think they've got to take a breath and ask themselves, what is important to us going forward, not what was important to us when we were 29.
Yeah. And what I would call their situation is like a 50-50 married to a lazy man's budget. And maybe we need to be looking from a household perspective at what makes sense from a percentage of income perspective if we want to maintain this like yours, mine, and ours lazy man version of what they're doing.
Dame, I think she's got another great point here, because to me, this yours, mine, and ours, whatever, how that works, this emailer has already established the mine. She's done the work. And there's, frankly, in my opinion, there's no need to keep doing that. She's got the independence. Like, she has established a backup plan and safety and prudence. And like, at this point, I mean, she can do whatever she wants. I'm like, but why? Why now?
I don't know. I'm not going to guess as to why that is, but there's I'm sure whatever the reason is, it feels perfectly logical and reasonable. And I'm not here to tell you that it's not. That's not my place. I am here to encourage you to look at other alternatives as viable and completely reasonable in this situation.
Kristen, I don't want to go too far with this, so we'll just curious what you think.
Okay.
Do you think she has seen the bad part of not having independence from a partner, and that's why it's so important to her?
Statistically, the answer to that is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, the proximity of that, I'm not entirely sure from what we've seen here, but the reality is yes. I mean, we all know someone who has had some sort of level of financial stability kind of like ripped out from under them. And so, yes, absolutely. That's part of this.
Dame, so you and I think still land on don't take 30K out of your brokerage account, right? That's where I'm still there, even though Kristen has been killing us with really good points. I'm still there. Are you there?
Yes. Although even if that 30 grand is entirely capital gains, worst case scenario, and they're in the highest capital gains bracket, that's $4,500 worth of tax to pay to access that 30 grand. In the grand scheme of things, is it going to move the needle significantly? No. I mean, it will certainly for that non-qualified account. The chances of it all being capital gains, though, really, really slim. And with any bit of effort, you could knock that down probably pretty significantly with some timing and loss harvesting. So I don't think the bill's going to be quite as big or as influential on the decision as we might have led on for it to be. But I don't think that negates the point entirely that if there's another way to just avoid paying those taxes, do it.
Kristen, what if, maybe this is the dumbest thing I've said in the show's history. What if it's not 0 or 30K? What if it's a different number? What if there's a more sensible number?
I don't even know that I think the 30K isn't sensible, but I certainly think there could be some sort of glide path here that exists, or brainstorm. These are two intelligent, financially literate adults. Brainstorm a version of this that looks like what she feels like she's giving up in independence somehow benefits their child. If it's extra 529 contributions, let's put this money in a brokerage account for our kid. Like that is truly a shared financial goal. So maybe she can feel like she's not losing that independence in a way that looks like providing for the next generation.
Just joined us here on Kristen and Co. We're breaking down a situation in which family is trying to decide with a mom who is making less money than she used to, can they still go 50-50? Dave, my ultimate point here is why I don't think it's necessarily a good idea. These folks have earned the right to do whatever. And the reality is their previous decisions have proven that they're not going to make a mistake. I don't think there's a mistake to be made here.
No, just varying levels of ultimate flexibility, but I think either way, whatever decision you make, you're going to be okay.
Tom asked an interesting question in the chat, if my eyes can read it. Is the emailer's contribution more about asserting her independence and control over financial decisions?
Yes.
Kristen's nodding.
I am not going to speak for her.
You know what? I agree. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break on this special Thursday live stream, which then turns into a weekend show. Anyway, we're going to take a break and coming back after the break, biggest waste of money of the week and the news right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Tried to get some of that time back.
Good call.
Good question, Tom. I liked this question a lot.
Same.
Yeah.
I want to know so much, though. I just want to know that I've guessed right. All right. So emailer, when you email us back to tell us what's right, you also have to tell us what is the most ridiculous assumption that we've made and gotten wrong, because that's the funniest part.
And which idea did you absolutely hate? Like you heard it come out of my mouth and you said, no, Kristen.
No, well, here's the thing, Kristen. The only people that generally say stupid things on the show are me and when Dame's feeling potty mouthed.
Rare.
He makes Caitlin.
Oh my gosh, your sister's just throwing. bombs this morning, inflating Kristen's ego this morning.
I didn't feel good earlier this week. I feel like I deserve it a little.
Well, it's because you countryed too hard or whatever.
No, my germy child that sits among other germy children got everyone sick.
Did she wear boots to the concert?
No, but she does have boots.
She has boots.
Of course she does.
Does she have a cowgirl hat?
No.
Here's a question, Dame. As a woman that wears a cowboy hat, is it called a cowgirl hat when you go to the store, or is it just a cowboy hat for girls?
I think it's just a cowboy hat.
Kristen?
Cowboy hat.
Cowgirl hat is kind of where I'm going.
You heard it here first.
It's what?
A rebrand.
Yeah. Dame, I'm not going to tell the story again that I told you off air this morning about soccer travel.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here as we're having a conversation about someone else's financial life. I'm back to that story. It's crazy, right?
Entirely. I mean, can you track the flight and, figure all that stuff out?
I probably could. Kristen, I might have to tell you off the air, but also I have to tell you this. A, you won't care at all.
You know what? Just spare me then.
Okay. Because you won't care at all.
Okay.
B, you'll also think it is the dumbest thing you've ever heard.
So,
Look at that efficiency.
Love that for us.
Yeah. Cowpoke hat? Do we think that's it?
Probably not.
I don't know. I feel like if I wore like battle fatigues, that would be stolen valor and it would look ridiculous. But I think me in a cowboy hat, I can't think of anything that would look stupider.
You in a cowboy hat?
No, I said if I had one. Dame,
Oh.
I think I could literally see you in a cowboy hat right now.
Literally in that shirt too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kristen, I can see you in a cowgirl hat.
No. Not for me.
I went to Vegas once during the rodeo because it was a long story. I think I've talked about this before, and I tried on cowboy hats at the cowboy market or whatever. And I want to show you. It's before they like fit them and shape them to your head.
Yeah.
And so I was just trying some on. I want to see if I can show you. Actually, I'll have to. I look ridiculous, and it's when I had a beard too, because I was trying to look like the guy from Yellowstone. Let me go full screen to myself.
Oh, your favorite writer is putting out a new show soon.
No.
Oh my.
I remember that picture.
I do. I recall.
Oh, and this one was a little jaunty. I looked like a Smokey. Yeah, I'm not a cowboy hat guy. Okay, what's the new show, Kristen?
It's about Rip and Beth, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of done with the storyline.
But I thought that you were a big Sheridan
I was.
guy.
I am a Taylor Sheridan fella.
Okay. Not an Ella fellow though.
I
that?
actually have another picture of you in a hat.
You do?
Yeah, I don't think this was the one that you just showed.
Another one. Yeah. Look at that. Why do you have that?
You sent it to me. It's in a text thread because there's another one that I have that is hilarious that I won't show.
What's that one?
Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, hold on. Oh, wait, hold on. Am I clothed?
Yeah, yes.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. Wait, let me go. Wait a second. Hold on. I got to go full screen for you because I want to. Okay. Hold on. Okay. What is happening? I'm sunburned.
Burned.
Yeah.
And then is that a real hat or is it superimposed on?
No, that's superimposed.
Okay.
So
All right. How great is the feature in your iPhone where you can search words and it pulls up the picture?
It's amazing.
so good.
It's the greatest thing ever.
Truly.
All right. And 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week right here on the Pete the Planner Show is the Bermuda Toaster Pro. Most toasters dry bread out. Bermuda figured out that a small burst of steam at the right moment is all it takes to keep the inside fluffy while the outside crisps. Founded by former rock musician Jin Terral, who retrained himself as an engineer after his band dissolved, the Tokyo brand has spent 2 decades rethinking how everyday appliances work and feel. The Toaster Pro is its most capable yet, a compact countertop oven ranging from 350 to 450 degrees that applies steam technology and precise 3-zone heat control to deliver bakery quality results at home. 6 modes tailor the finish, including, boy, this is just getting long. Anyway, it is a steam toaster for better toast. Dane, when it gets into some of the other functionality of like acting like a salamander from a kitchen, I get really into it. But if it's a toaster that just makes better toast, it seems ridiculous. Kristen, what do you believe this steam toaster costs?
This steam toaster costs $475.
$475?
Yes, there are some really you must not be on the same algorithm as me. Go on.
Dame?
I was actually going to go significantly higher, and still will in the spirit of the game. $899.
$379. My point is this: toast is toast. It's either light or it's dark. And all I know is when I was a kid and I would, my dad would come home from work, we'd eat dinner. He would take 3 separate English muffins, so 6 different halves, toast them, stack them on like a bread plate, and that was his bread service for that meal. The dude just slammed inky muffins, and we didn't have a steam toaster. So anyway, that is a giant waste of money. Dame, what's in the news this week?
Spirit Airlines may be getting the financial equivalent of an Alka-Seltzer the morning after spring break, but this time it could come with a government label on it. The Trump administration is reportedly in talks to loan the airline $500 million to keep it from shutting down. And in return, the government wouldn't just be helping, it could end up owning a big piece of the company. Reports say that stake could climb as high as 90%. So this isn't just a bailout. This is flirting with turning Spirit into a government-backed airline. Now, remember, this is the carrier that specializes in maybe getting you to Miami on time for $40 and charging you extra for everything short of oxygen. Behind the scenes, it's been rough. Spirit's struggled since the pandemic and dealt with rising costs, more competition, and of course, a failed merger with JetBlue Airways. And while the idea might keep planes in the air, it opens up a whole new set of questions, starting with whether the government can even do this without Congress stepping in. So yeah, Spirit might survive, but if this deal goes through, your next budget flight might come with something new, a partial ownership stake from Uncle Sam.
Kristen, obviously Dame wants to point out that we want jobs saved. We want people employed. Mm-hmm. We don't want those households to go through what would happen if the airline shut down. But I think Dame also is making the point of, come on, right? How do you feel?
Yeah. As someone who flies incredibly cheap, I love nothing more than a cheap plane ticket because we're probably all going to get there anyway.
Probably.
Probably. I don't care where my seat is on the plane. The plane, if it gets there, it gets there, and we're all going to get there in this tin can together. I love a budget airline, so I'm afraid I need it to be there to keep my other, because Spirit's not the airline closest to me that flies the most places. It's a different budget airline. And so I need them. I need that competition.
This is where I like different perspectives on the show. As someone who is the complete opposite of what Kristen just described, I'd hate government bailouts. Now, that being said, there are programs that happen like PPP, mm-hmm. which all of us benefited from mm-hmm. during the pandemic. So I want to, again, be honest about that. But it's just like, come on. I don't like that the government is owning these private businesses or public businesses, I guess, at this point. It bothers me.
Spirit has been trying desperately to go out of business for a long time, and it just can't figure out how to do it. And the government's going to prolong the agony, and it just needs to let it go.
Dame, what else is in the news?
JP Morgan Chase just did what Wall Street does best, changed its mind, but with confidence. About a month ago, they were calling for a cautious outlook on the S&P 500. Now, they've upgraded their outlook for 2026 and are calling for the index to hit this by year end and a best case stretch goal of this.
Okay. It is currently at 7,100.
Okay.
I think they are saying it is going to hit 9,000. That seems aggressive. 8,000.
Okay.
And the stretch goal of 8,200. Kristen, what do you think?
I can't even do the percentages that
All right,
fast.
Dame, what do we got?
Year end, the normal goal 7,600 with best case stretch for 8.
Yeah, that 9,000 was a bit off.
Yeah, that was. I mean, hey, I'd go for it, man. Love it.
I mean, like I've continued to back off news this week and podcasts. I've not listened to a single podcast about news or politics or world events in a week, and I'm sleeping better. I will say this though. I have been consuming enough financial news to know that the market has become completely disconnected from the world economy. It is, I don't get it. I don't understand it at all.
That's the craziest thing. I can't even say that this is unreasonable. Just because I don't know anymore.
I looked at one of my accounts the other day. It has never, ever been higher. And I don't get it. I'm not complaining, not bragging. I just don't understand it. Like Kristen, combined in aggregate, our brains know some things about investing and financial planning. And if we can collectively say, I don't know what's happening here. How does the average investor, like, how are they supposed to think about this?
I don't know how they're supposed to think about it to that point. Is to just do what works, right? Time in the market. We're not trying to time the market. We're contributing to our defined contribution accounts. You just keep doing the same old same, and you just don't know what you don't know, and it's okay.
Dame, you know how the Bitcoin specifically sort of inexplicably raised, and it just kept going and going and going. Now I feel like the market is actually doing that.
Yeah, there is a bit of that vibe, but I think your point is actually really important. You don't have to understand it, especially if you are still numbers of years away from retirement. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like Kristen said, keep contributing, status quo, make sure that your allocation is in reasonable shape for who you are, what your time horizon is, what your risk tolerance is, what your risk capacity is. Just keep making those contributions. You don't have to understand all the minutia and the ins and the outs of why things are doing what they are, because frankly, the answer that you get may not even be close to the reality of the situation anyway.
Last story, Dame.
Wall Street has a new financial advisor. She doesn't sleep, take lunch, never ask for a raise. Her name is Sky. She's Citigroup's new AI agent built to help manage about $676 billion in client assets. She's bilingual with Spanish and English and answers questions around the clock and gets smarter every time you talk to her. Citi here is not alone. JP Morgan Chase is spending nearly $20 billion on tech this year. Bank of America's AI assistant has already handled billions of client interactions. Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley are building tools to handle everything from trades to onboarding. The 6 biggest U.S. banks cut about 15,000 jobs in the first quarter, while profits went up 18%. And Citi alone is planning to reduce its workforce by 20,000 employees. So yes, AI is making things faster. It's making things cheaper. It's also quietly changing who's in the room. Call it innovation, call it efficiency. Just understand on Wall Street, the robots aren't coming. They've already been hired.
Thank you for the nightmare fuel, Dame. That in the Japanese robot marathon that I witnessed this week. Not great. Anyway, with that, we're sending you good vibes, because good vibes are all that's in the budget because of AI. See you next week. This is the Pete the Planner Show. Jeez, thanks, Dame. Thank you. You remember when all the AI stuff first started popping 3-4 years ago with like a New York Times piece about how this person talked the AI into showing them how to like end the world and all of this stuff? Remember that? And I read that article and I didn't know much about it before that. And then I came out of that going, oh my gosh. And then there's just been ebbs and flows of that feeling. All the unemployment stuff has got me feeling that way. They were creating, call it efficiency, call whatever you agreed, call whatever you want to call it. What in the world are all these people without jobs supposed to do? Like what? I don't understand.
UBI, baby, UBI.
But that, I don't even buy that.
I don't either.
I don't. Like that's Elon Musk's thing is like, there will be so much wealth for everyone because of AI. I'm like, no, there won't.
Well, that's also, I can't remember the gentleman's name who was a Democratic presidential candidate, Andrew Yang, UBI, for the very similar reasons as what Elon's saying. But it does present a bit of a conundrum if we're going to reduce the need for labor in a whole bunch of areas. What in the world are we going to do?
You know, for years, Kristen, on this show, we've talked about like this idea that people in the trades who skip college loans work with your hands, have a skill. AI ain't changing my faucet in my bathroom, you know?
No, certainly not going to do the tile work either, huh?
I mean,
But if there's a ton of labor in that area, you're not going to get paid the same either because it's going to get more competitive.
So true.
Well, everyone, good luck with your lives. Oh, man. All right. Well, this was a special Thursday edition of the show. Next week, we'll be back and bring you more positive content about the rest of our lives. That we're going to win the race against the robots. Okay. Stay getting money.